Thank you for joining us as we discuss the New Orleans Recreation and Culture Fund. The Foundation is honored to serve as the grant-making partner for this important work. We connect people to the causes that spark their passion. As one of the most trusted philanthropic organizations in the region, we work every day to drive positive impact through philanthropy, leadership, and action in our 13-parish region. The New Orleans City Council established the New Orleans Recreation and Culture Fund to provide funding to support nonprofit community organizations, youth recreation organizations, and culture bearer organizations that contribute substantially to the well-being, development, and growth of the New Orleans community. This program will support nonprofit organizations and their programs that provide a public benefit. This is an opportunity for organizations to showcase their best thinking about how to support the New Orleans community. The ordinance that created this program outlined the following eligibility criteria. Organizations must be tax-exempt 501c3. They must be located in Orleans Parish. They must have been in existence for at least 3 years, and they must be in current good standing with the IRS. Awarded funds may be used for general operating or programmatic support. Applicants will be asked to identify specific key performance indicators that they will report against if an award is made. Awards may not be used for fundraising or lobbying activities. The maximum grant awards will be the lower of $100,000 or 50% of an organization's annual operating budget. As you can see in this example, an organization with a $2.5 million budget has the potential to receive a maximum grant of $100,000, while an organization with a $150,000 budget could potentially receive up to $75,000. If a grant is awarded, grants will be paid according to the following schedule. Grants up to $25,000 will be paid 90% of their grant upon receipt of a signed grant agreement. The remaining 10% will be paid upon the submission and review of a final report. Grants over $25,000 will be paid half upon receipt of a signed grant agreement. 40% will be paid upon the submission and review of an interim report, and the final 10% will be paid upon submission and review of a final report. All organizations that receive a grant will be required to submit interim and final programmatic and financial reports. All awarded funds must be expended in 2024. Now that we have gone through the details of the process, I would like to take you through the application questions. We begin by getting information about your organization relative to the City Council districts. You will need to answer where your organization is headquartered, which other districts your organization has a physical location in, and which districts does your organization serve clients from. We will then move into some questions about your request. The project name is a unique name used for identification. A proper project name describes the whole proposal in one sentence or less. You will also provide a short one-paragraph summary describing your grant request. You will indicate whether or not you are applying through a fiscal sponsor. This opportunity is open only to 501c3 organizations in good standing with the IRS. If your organization does not have 501c3 status, you may apply using a fiscal sponsor that has that status. We will also ask you to include the amount requested for this proposal. We'll ask you the type of grant that you're requesting, whether programmatic or general operating. Programmatic grants support a specific project or activity of the grantee and are tied to specific project-based outcomes. General operating grants support an organization's overall activities, including operating expenses and overhead. You will indicate the category that best describes your request: arts and culture, community improvement, or youth recreation. You will then have the opportunity to choose a program area that best describes your request. Lastly, here you will identify the population your organization serves. If you do not see your population, there is a place for you to write in the population you serve. Here, we want to learn a little more about your organization. We'll need to know the year your organization was established, your organization's mission statement, and a brief organization history. You will include your annual budget for both the previous and current years. You'll list the number of full-time staff, part-time staff, volunteers, and board members. And you will also talk a little bit about how often your board meets. Now we get into the detailed narrative of the application. This is where you will be able to describe your request in detail. What does your organization aim to accomplish during the grant period? What are your strategies for making that happen? What are your organizational capacities to do this work? What is your organization's track record of success in doing this work? You'll describe your partners and the roles that they will play in helping to meet your goals. You'll describe how data is used to inform your work. You'll talk a little bit more about the population you serve, as well as how the work of your organization differs from similar work being done by other organizations. You will also be asked to describe your plans for maintaining and growing funding for this project and for your organization. You will also list any in-kind support your organization receives. Earlier, you answered whether or not you were applying for general operating support or programmatic support. If you selected general operating support, you will answer these questions. You will describe your organization's key activities that support your mission, and you will describe in detail how this grant will be used. If you're applying for programmatic support, you will talk more about your specific program, including how this project or program contributes to your organization's mission. You'll identify your program or project start and end dates. You'll talk a little bit about your timeline, including what are key milestones on the timeline of your program. You'll include a dollar amount for your project or program budget, as well as a detailed project or program budget for this grant. This section gives you space to talk about the results you expect to achieve by the end of the funding period. You will provide expected outputs and outcomes in SMART terms. SMART are specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. You'll provide a number for how many clients your organization anticipates to serve over the course of this grant. You will include expected outputs, which are the activities, products, or participation generated by this grant. What did you do, and for what or for whom? You will include expected outcomes. These are the changes in knowledge, skills, behavior, practices, policies, and/or conditions for your targeted audience. What are the changes that you expect to occur? And lastly, you will describe the criteria that you will use to measure success of the activities related to this request. As I mentioned earlier, if your organization is not a 501c3, you will have the opportunity to apply using a fiscal sponsor. You will need to supply the following: your fiscal sponsor's name, their tax ID number, as well as a memorandum of understanding between you and that organization. You will also need to certify the following questions: that your organization was created before October 2020, that if awarded, funds will not be used to participate in a political campaign or make a political donation. You will have to certify that your organization has a registered headquarters and physical location in Orleans Parish. You'll also have to certify that no member of the City Council serves on your organization's board or has another reason to recuse himself from reviewing your application. Lastly, you will need to certify that your organization does not discriminate based on race, color, national origin, sex, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, or disability. And lastly, here's a list of the required documents for this application. You will need to supply your current operating budget, your year-to-date financial statements, your most recent audit, your most recent IRS Form 990, a list of board members, a list of other funders, and if you're applying using a fiscal sponsor, that memorandum of understanding. Applications are due on November 17th, and we anticipate making announcements of grant awards in December 2023. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at grants@nocsf.org. We look forward to receiving your applications by November 17th.